All right. So, Matt, I've talked about this before, and you know I'm a space nerd, right?
Right.
I realized I do not like black holes, though.
Really?
Yeah, they really suck.
Man.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the graveyard. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Adam.
And my name's Matt.
Now, pull up a tombstone or settle into your casket and get comfortable because this is Graveyard Tales. All right, everybody, here we are again. Matt, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing okay, but I'm realizing that I can no longer see the screen without wearing my glasses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I've gone for years and I thought, oh, it's fine, you know. And now the last couple weeks I've been like, I can't see anything.
We have finally fully traded places now, because when we started the show, I was wearing my glasses all the time.
Yeah.
And then I got contacts, and then we were both without glasses, and now you've got glasses and I don't. So we've switched places.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, when I turned 40, I realized that my arms were too short. Okay?
Yeah, you couldn't get it far enough away.
That's right. You know, now it's like I've had to up the well, not the prescription. I mean, I still wear contacts. You know, these are reading glasses, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't see anything without these. I mean, if it's within 5 feet, I'm like, what? What is that?
That's funny. That's funny.
Can't put batteries in nothing. You know?
Well, see, that's the cool thing about how long this show has been going and how long we want it to keep going is you as a listener will get to see our age progression live as it happens.
I tell you what would be funny is if we had been doing video back in the beginning, how less gray my beard would have been.
Yeah. Yep.
Because Amanda will pull up old pictures and I'll be like,
oh, yeah.
Man, look, my beard wasn't as gray.
We've still got some old pictures on our website. I need to update all those pictures, but yeah, it's funny.
It's like I need to just for men, you know.
Don't do that. Just rock it, man.
No.
So we want to say go check out the Podbelly Network at podbelly.com. You can find a list of shows that we're happy to be associated with, and you can find some tips and tricks on podcasting if you want to get into it. We also want to thank tonight's sponsors, MeUndies, and we'll talk more about them coming up. While you're on the internet, looking up our sponsors and buying some stuff from MeUndies and all that, go over to patreon.com/graveyardtales. Sign up to become a patron. We have multiple different levels on there. I recently posted a teaser of our new side quest show that we're doing for our $10 patrons. So if you're a patron at all, you get to see a teaser video to see what you're missing.
Yeah.
As not being a subscriber to that show, you know, you can see how unfulfilled your life would be. So if you want to fulfill your life, go over there and check out the new show.
I'm telling y'all, and it's not for no other reason. Y'all really need to check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Adam and I like you have not heard us before. I promise.
Right. Yeah. If you've been a long-time Graveyard Tales listener and you're like, why don't they cuss? Why don't they talk about this kind of stuff? We do in SideQuest. You get to see the unfiltered, unedited Adam and Matt.
Yeah.
But we also have other levels, a $1 and a $5, and every level gets a audio bonus episode a week. Our $5 and $10, they get the audio and video ad-free versions of the main episodes. So if you don't want to hear ads, go over there and sign up to become a patron at a $5 or $10 level. Like I said, our $10 gets the side quest episodes. And I mean, don't feel bad if you can't afford the $10 a month. You'll still get a back catalog of bonus episodes and new every week for $1. And we appreciate our $1 just as much as our 10.
Absolutely.
So, Matt, that's all I've got for the housekeeping. So why don't you tell us, what are we talking about tonight, brother?
All right. So this is taken from the website of the place we're talking about tonight. Okay. This is from like the tourism thing.
Okay.
It says, escape to the serene beauty of northern New Mexico and experience a unique stay in our teepee nestled in the heart of the mountains on the Jicarilla Apache Reservation near Archuleta Mesa, a.k.a. the Dulce UFO Underground Base. Our teepee offers one-of-a-kind getaway where you can connect with nature and immerse yourself in the rich culture of this sacred land. Wait, did it just say the Dulce UFO Underground Base?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize there was an underground UFO base.
Well, that's still questionable, Matt.
So Adam pitches this topic, and we kind of go back and forth. But I thought that it's really too crazy not to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
But in Dulce, New Mexico, there are a lot of folks that believe that there is an underground UFO base in the Archuleta Mesa. I mean,
yeah,
you can't get much further out than that. But
yeah, I love it though.
What Adam and I are going to talk about tonight is how that idea came to be and the evidence that people have collected that say this might not be as off base as you think.
Mm-hmm. And that's the fun part about it is when you first hear it, you go, there is no way. There's no way.
Right.
This is insane. Y'all have lost your mind, but the more you look into it, the more you're like, you know what? It's sounding plausible.
Right.
The more I read about this, the more plausible it sounds. So as we always say, go check our sources down at the bottom of the show notes. You can find where we found all this information because obviously Matt and I have not traveled to Dulce, New Mexico at all. We would like to and go to the Jicarilla Apache Nation and check this out for ourselves, but we haven't. So for those who have and have put the information out there, we have linked the sources there in the bottom of our show notes so you can go check them out, continue the research, and, double check what we say. Make sure we have read it correctly. But now, Dulce, New Mexico has a population of about 2,743 residents as of the 2010 census. So that's not many. That is
it's
small area. It's so small, Matt, it doesn't even have a traffic light. If that tells you anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's out in the desert,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tiny little town out there in the desert, and it's in Rio Arriba County. Now, it sits directly on the New Mexico-Colorado border near Chama, and it's the largest community of tribal headquarters of the Jicarilla Apache Reservation. So let's look at the Jicarilla Apache Nation. And this is quoted from New Mexico's Native Culture Information. It says Apache is the collective name used for several related groups of Native Americans. These indigenous peoples of North America speak a Southern Athabascan or Apachean language and are related linguistically to the Athabascan speakers of Alaska and Western Canada. The Jicarilla Apache Nation is located in the scenic mountains and rugged mesas of northern New Mexico near the Colorado border. There are approximately 2,755 tribal members, most of whom live in the town of Dulce. Now, nomadic in nature until just before European contact, the Jicarilla tribe established trade with Taos and the Picuris Pueblos. They wandered and traded as far east as Kansas until they settled deep in the northern Sangre de Cristo Mountains in the mid-1720s. This next bit is quoted from the Tent Tribes Partnership. It says, the Jicarilla Apache Nation Indian Reservation spans more than 879,917 acres in north-central New Mexico. The reservation is located in the upper reaches of the San Juan River Basin and the Rio Chama in north-central New Mexico, straddling the Continental Divide. The reservation's northern boundary borders the Colorado line, and the western boundary of the reservation is about 15 miles east of Navajo Reservoir. Dulce, New Mexico is the reservation's sole community and is home to the Jicarilla Apache Nation's tribal headquarters. In 2010, the nation had a population of 3,254. So the geography of the Jicarilla Reservation ranges from high desert at the south boundary at about 6,500 feet in elevation to mountainous areas reaching over 11,400 feet in elevation. And the landscape varies from rugged pine-covered mesas and pinyon juniper woodlands to lowland sagebrush flats. Coniferous forest dominates the higher elevations in the mountainous areas.
Yeah, so if you were going to build a secret base, out here is a good spot.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It's away from big towns. It's out in the middle of almost nowhere. And it's a great place to have a secretive base. Now, Dulce was originally founded by the Gomez family, and their intention was to make it a ranching operation. Now, San Eugenio Gomez originally founded it in 1877. Now, the original name for it was Agua Dulce, which means sweet water. So they called it that because there was an abundance of natural springs in the area, and it was great for drinking water for both humans and animals, horses, cows, whatever they had in the area. And over the years, we have Anglicanized the name. So it is Dulce, but most people you talk to around there say Dulce. So that's the reason I'm saying Dulce. Yes, the word is Dulce, but I mean, hey, it hurts me to say Dulce when it's Dulce de leche, agua dulce, but.
Tomato, potato.
Exactly. Potato, cucumber. I don't know. Now, the Jicarilla Apache Reservation was established in 1887 when the Apache people were forced into a reservation. Now, the Gomez Ranch is currently kept under Manuel Gomez ownership, though it's surrounded by reservation land. So his original homestead there is still there, and it's still being ran by Gomez family, but the reservation has kind of grown up around it. Mm-hmm. So he lives within reservation land now. Well, the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad built its San Juan extension through Dulce in 1882. And as we've seen before, when you get a railroad through your town, you've officially become a town.
Right. When people can come there, then you're a town. Yep.
You've officially made it. But the other things that make you a legit town are a post office, and one of those was established here in 1892. And then in 1914, they built a sawmill here and a logging railroad that ran southwest as far as Mills Lake. But unfortunately, both of those closed in 1930. So didn't last too long, about 16 years, and they closed the logging company. Now, Dulce is only about 12.9 square miles. So it's not a big population and not a real big town. It's, I mean, I don't know how else we can say this is a tiny place.
Oh, yeah.
It's tiny. Now, you would think that being in New Mexico, that Dulce would be hot and dry. But because of its high altitude, it actually has mild, short summers. So it's, that's a thing people mistake about Arizona and New Mexico a lot. They think, oh, it's all desert. There's a lot of desert, but there's also a lot of arid, cold regions because there are mountainous areas there. And yeah, you can have a cold desert as much as you can have a hot desert, but you get into parts like the Dulce area and stuff like that, and it actually becomes pretty chilly. You got a short summer, and then it's cold in the winter.
Yeah,
and pine trees and stuff. So it's confusing for people that don't know the area real well.
When you watch some of the videos from the locals, they're wearing like coats and hats.
Yeah.
You know, you can tell, you know, they're out in the desert, but it's cold.
Yeah. Yep. Now, I mentioned that it was in Rio Arriba County, and this comes from the History of Rio Arriba by Raymond Ortiz and Lauren Reichelt. It says the name Rio Arriba means upper river. The county is so named because the Rio Grande, the lifeline of the state, runs through it. Now, under Mexican rule, established in 1821, New Mexico was divided into two territories. Rio Abajo, so the lower river, comprised everything south of Santa Fe. Most of New Mexico's landed gentry traced their ancestry directly from Spain and lived in Rio Abajo. Now, Rio Arriba, the forgotten upper river, evolved into a creative, diverse, isolated, shunned, independent, self-reliant, and quirky cultural mix, they said. So, you can kind of see that. If you're separated from the rest of it, you kind of become your own thing.
Right, yeah.
It's like Darwin and his evolution of species. It happens with people, too. You get separated and put in your own little area, y'all become your own unique kind of ecosystem there.
That's right.
Another good place to put a UFO base.
Yeah.
Now, in the 2020 census, it said that Rio Arriba County had a population of 40,363. Now, the northern border of the county, like I said, is on the Colorado state line, and the county was one of 9 originally created for the territory of New Mexico in 1852. Originally extending west to the California line, it included the site of present-day Las Vegas, Nevada. So, interesting there. The Battle of Embudo Pass took place in the southern part of the county during the Mexican-American War in January of 1847, and that was part of the Taos Revolt, which was a popular insurrection against the American Army's occupation of northern New Mexico. The county has a total area of 5,896 square miles, and it's the 5th largest county in New Mexico by area. Taos County sits just east of Rio Arriba County. So we've discussed Taos before, the Taos Hum and all that. So it's an interesting area up there. And if you start putting these two together, Taos is right there. Dulce apparently has a alien base.
I mean, when you start talking about UFOs, you can't skip New Mexico.
Right.
I mean, so much has happened in New Mexico that, I mean, if you're a UFO investigator, you have got to go to New Mexico. It's kind of where it all begins.
Yeah. Now, even though Dulce is a small town and has less than 3,000 people living there, its population grows every year when ufologists host the, quote, Dulce Base UFO conference. They didn't get too creative on the name, Matt.
I mean, they don't have to.
That's valid.
That's enough.
That's valid. Yeah. Now, it's important to note that the existence of the New Mexico alien base itself remains entirely unproven, even as the legends surrounding it are well documented. Well, apparently, rumors about the existence of the Dulce military base go all the way back to the 1930s, but it really began to pick up steam in the 1970s. And there was this New Mexico state trooper, and he went public with his account of his experience. So the legends say that there is a secret 7-story military base that sits under Dulce, New Mexico, specifically underneath the Archuleta Mesa, like Matt was saying. Now, we know that black sites do exist, which are military sites that they're not on maps, they're not talked about, whatever, but they are there. So black sites do exist. And we know even some that were built into mountains here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at the, I forgot the name of it, but there where the president and the cabinet members are supposed to sneak away during the Cold War.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And NORAD is built into a mountain.
True. Yep.
Yep. So it's not like the idea of putting a military installation inside a mountain is unheard of.
Right.
I mean, it's been done already.
Right. But the weird part about the Dulce base is that it's a joint run base, partially run by the U.S. military and partially by a race of alien beings.
Yeah.
So I've not heard of that before until Dulce. That's a new one.
Yeah. When your coworkers are, you know, they're from out of town.
Yeah. They show ain't from around here. Now, I mentioned the state trooper. Well, his name was Gabe Valdez, and he apparently documented unexplained cattle mutilations in the area in a radio interview. And he said, quote, the evidence that was left there, predators don't leave gas masks, glow sticks, radar chaff, and they don't leave stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
So he's right. I mean, they don't. But apparently, he was investigating these cattle mutilations and found all this stuff laying around the thing. So the gas mask and the glow sticks, he said, that pointed toward military involvement. Well, Valdez made more wild claims in other interviews, including sightings of black, silent, quote, sophisticated spacecraft and the discovery of a fetus inside a dead cow. And you're like, oh, so it was pregnant. It was not a calf fetus that he found inside this dead cow. He said, quote, it looked like a human, a monkey, and a frog, Valdez told the History Channel's UFO hunters. Quote, it didn't have any bones in its head. It was all full of water. Valdez thought, what else? The cows were incubating alien babies.
Now, see, that's really weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the mutilations just themselves are really weird because it doesn't make any sense why they would have occurred.
Yep.
I mean, if you're gonna do something like this, you would think there would be a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was a hoax, they just left it at that. They didn't do anything else to perpetuate the hoax.
Right.
I mean, you got to realize they're not talking about an alien base at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're just dealing with these cattle mutilations. So this feels like an isolated incident.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and you and I, we did a whole episode on cattle mutilations. So here's my question to you, Matt. Could all of if he's absolutely right with his story, could that be what these cattle mutilations are? Is that they have, unbeknownst to the farmers, been incubating babies inside cows. And then when the cattle is mutilated, what they're doing is they're coming and retrieving the fetus and taking parts of the cow for samples to see how it affected them.
If you entertain the ideas of this base and what goes on there, then it absolutely seems reasonable
mm-hmm.
that that's what they would be doing.
Yeah.
And when you look at the eyewitness reports of what's around there, it makes it seem like that's exactly what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, it's really, really strange. I mean, the more you dig into this, the more bizarre it becomes.
Yeah. And it keeps opening doors to other things. And now Phil Schneider, who Matt will talk about a little bit more in a minute, he said that he helped build an alien base in Dulce in 1979. He claimed that he and others encountered aliens during the construction of this base. And he also said that 60 U.S. soldiers died in a gun battle with extraterrestrials and that the military later brokered a peace deal with the beings. So apparently there was a gun battle there in Archuleta Mesa and 60 U.S. soldiers died from it. And then there was a peace deal that was brokered, and that's why they now co-run the base.
And apparently in that firefight, I mentioned this later, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it now. He not only claimed to have seen this happen, he supposedly lost a few fingers during the firefight by being hit by some kind of alien weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And he had missing fingers.
Right.
So he either came up with a story that was cool to say how he lost those fingers, or this was actually how it happened.
Yeah. Now, I know a guy, an old friend of mine, who lost a finger in a shop accident. And he did come up with different fun things to say, but none of them involved aliens. You know, he didn't go that far. He was like, Chihuahua bit my finger off and weird stuff like that. But none of it involved an alien, but like it didn't get this elaborate.
Yeah.
So he's either a real elaborate storyteller or something happened.
But, he's not alone.
Right.
I mean, we're not going off exactly everything that Phil Schneider said. So as he said, he helped in the construction of this base in 1979. Okay. In 1979, an Albuquerque businessman named Paul Benowitz became convinced that he was intercepting electronic communications from alien spacecraft and installations outside of Albuquerque. Now, by the 1980s, he believed that he had discovered this secret underground base near Dulce, populated by gray aliens and humans. By 1983, Benowitz's claims appeared in the popular press. Now, a little bit about Benowitz. Now, in the 1970s, Benowitz became a member of Arizona's Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, or APRO. It's a civilian UFO investigation group. And he attended a meeting on April 20th, 1979, regarding the recent cattle mutilations, and this is where he first met Gabe Valdez, okay, the state trooper that Adam mentioned. Now, a few months later, Benowitz reportedly began filming strange lights and recording unusual radio signals over Kirtland Air Force Base. Now, on May 6th, 1980, okay, just a little over a year later, state police in Cimarron, New Mexico received a report from a woman calling herself Myrna Hansen. And she described a story involving interplanetary visitors, bright lights, and herds of cattle. So the police in Cimarron, they sent the case to Gabe Valdez because this was his thing. He was the, quote, cattle mutilation guy. And Valdez, in turn, contacted Paul Benowitz. He's like, hey, the Cimarron police are giving me this story because it mentions the cattle mutilations. What do you think about this? Well, I mean, just a day later, Myrna Hansen and her son traveled to Albuquerque to meet with Benowitz and stayed in his home. Now, Hansen explained to Benowitz that on May 5th, now this is fast here. So this occurred on May 5th. The police contacted Valdez on the 6th, and by May 7th, okay, 2 days later, she is at Benowitz's home.
Yeah, that's like the quickest investigation I've ever heard of.
I mean, they were moving on this.
Yeah, they were.
So Hansen's story is that while she was driving, this is on May 5th, 1980, while she was driving with her 6-year-old son near Eagle Nest, New Mexico, they had witnessed 2 large silent objects, approximately the size of Goodyear blimps, hovering over a meadow. The next thing she remembers is waking up in her car, and her car was out of gas. She was just outside the town of Dulce, New Mexico.
That's classic experiencer stuff too.
Right. And then this, she realized that she had lost about 6 hours.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. She couldn't recall the last 6 hours.
All right, Matt. So let's talk about our newest sponsor, MeUndies. Now, the thing with underwear is it's like the Wild West of your wardrobe. You know, there's no rhyme or reason to them. You've got some from high school that you've still got that have holes in them. You've got some that baggy and loose around the legs. You've got some that ride up on you. But it's just a crapshoot when you open your underwear drawer as to what you're going to get. But the thing is, you know, if you open the underwear drawer and you don't know what to get, then you obviously don't have any MeUndies. Because
absolutely,
I was skeptical. I have to be honest, straight out honest. I was skeptical about MeUndies because, you know, they're kind of a big brand, and you've heard other people talk about them, and you're like, how good could they really be? I mean, it's just underwear, right? No, it's a big difference. I'm hooked, and I'm honestly going to start weeding out all of my old brands that I've got. You know, I was very dedicated to a certain brand, but I'm not anymore. I'm very dedicated to MeUndies now. Ashley's like, oh, great. Gotta buy you more underwear. I'm like, yep, gotta buy me more underwear. You know, they sent us a pair to try. And like I said, I was skeptical, but I put them on, and holy cow, man. I'm a big fan of the, like the ball caddy things. You know, the pouch in the front.
Yeah.
And because I've talked before about you got to keep your giblets cool. Keep them cool in the summer. It's a southern thing. Keep your giblets cool. The caddies, the hammocks, whatever you want to call them, they work great for me to keep chafing down, and whatever magic they do with their micromodal fabric, it's amazing. You stay cool, you stay dry, and they are so comfortable.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're like Adam and you just need all black underwear, or if you're like me and you like some fun colors or expressive prints.
Thanks to MeUndies, I'm getting into that now. They got some cool stuff.
Hey, they've got a style for everybody. If you want pizza slices on your underwear, MeUndies has got it. Plus, they come in sizes from extra small to 4XL. So you're guaranteed to get a flattering look for everybody.
Right.
Okay? And they have unmatched comfort. MeUndies' signature fabric is as soft and is as a warm hug from your favorite sweater. It's breathable, stretchy, and oh so comfy. It makes it ideal for all-day wear. And MeUndies are responsibly sourced. They use sustainably sourced materials and work with partners that care for their workers. Not happy with your first pair of MeUndies? Guess what? It's on MeUndies. What other underwear company has given you a guarantee like that?
Right. That's amazing because you go into the big box store to get you underwear. They're not going to take it back. Once you put that on, that's your underwear. Yeah. They don't
That's
take
exactly
it back.
right. So if your underwear drawer looks like the Wild West, get 20% off your first order plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/graveyard.
That's right. That's MeUndies.com/graveyard, GRAVEYARD, and you'll get 20% off plus free shipping. MeUndies, comfort from the outside in.
Now, APRO director James Lorenzen suggested contacting Leo Sprinkle, a psychologist and tenured professor at the University of Wyoming who had been investigating UFO contact reports. So Benowitz arranged for Sprinkle to fly to Albuquerque and hypnotize Hansen. This is crazy right here. When Sprinkle arrived, Hansen and Benowitz insisted that the sessions be conducted in Benowitz's Lincoln Town car parked inside the garage with the car's windows covered with thick aluminum foil.
That's weird.
I know. That's kind of weird.
Weird.
Now, during her first regression, which is, this type of hypnotherapy,
Mm-hmm.
she reported a recollection of a cow being sucked up into a hovering spaceship by a tractor beam. Like
Classic.
Like not like a John Deere tractor.
Yeah, right.
Can you imagine? Big John Deere tractor going up into it's a
Starts
tractor
hoisting.
beam.
Yeah, it starts hoisting the cow up with this tractor.
Now, on May 11th and 12th, 1980, while under hypnosis, Hansen reported recollections of an abduction and of being taken to an underground base with body parts floating in vats. She recalled bright lights and that she felt that the bright light she thought wiped her memory. Now, Hansen's recollections would later evolve into the legend of the Dulce Base. Now, during the session, she exclaimed, "Where's Roswell, New Mexico?"
That's weird.
Now, most members of the public had not yet connected the town to UFO folklore. Okay, the Roswell story was not what it is today. Okay.
Right.
So for her to spout off something about Roswell, it wasn't I'm just going to bring up Roswell because it's like the alien hub or something. It wasn't that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It wasn't as widely known. Now, Hansen reported recalling having been giving an implant by the aliens. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. That's not just abduction deal. There's abduction, implants, all sorts of stuff.
So, about a month later, on June 3rd, Sprinkle returned to visit Benowitz, and he found Benowitz armed with a pistol and a rifle. And he said he was concerned that he was open to attacks from the aliens. Now, Benowitz expressed a desire to protect himself, his family, and Myrna Hansen. So Benowitz then turned to hypnotist James Harder, who was an abduction researcher and a professor of engineering. Now, interestingly enough, Harder had conducted a hypnotic regression of Travis Walton in 1975.
All right.
So, I mean, I guess in the UFO investigation culture, he had the bona fides.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a part of the most well-known abduction case. So the two believed Hansen was under the influence of alien beams and wrote detailed instructions on how to use aluminum foil to shield a room from the beams before conducting a regression. So essentially they thought, okay, So she's under the influence of these beams, and under hypnosis or not, what she tells us is not going to be valid.
Yeah.
So they had to shield the room they were in order to get accurate responses out of her hypnosis. So you take that for what it is. Okay?
Yeah.
The aluminum foil hats, everything.
Mm-hmm. Had to shield it.
Yeah. So in the 1980s, Benoit started spreading rumors about the Dulce Base and detailed his experiences in a paper called Project Beta. Now, after the release of the paper, Richard Doty, a former special agent for the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations, says he was tasked with feeding false information to UFO researchers like Paul Benoit's. He fed ufologists lies and half-truths, knowing that their imaginations would do the rest. He was told to make Benoit's believe there was an impending alien invasion because he was really observing secret Air Force projects. And the Air Force wanted to discredit Benoit's so that no one would figure it out. Okay, so he was a propaganda guy.
Yeah.
He dealt in misinformation in order to throw these ufologists off the track and get them chasing a red herring and get them off of what was really going on. But the funny thing is Benoit's and Doty actually became friends. And after a while, Doty even started to believe that what Benoit's was seeing was extraterrestrial in nature because he couldn't explain it himself. The objects and the lights and all that. Doty couldn't come up with anything to discredit that. I mean, he was seeing the evidence and he's like, I don't know what do I do with this? Because, Doty's job was to keep him from figuring out what they were working on at Kirtland Air Force Base. But he starts seeing stuff and he's like, wait a minute, they didn't tell me about this. I know about all the top secret stuff, but I don't know anything about this stuff that he's seeing.
Right.
So he started to believe it.
It's not lining up with his cover stories.
And the cool thing about Doty is he reportedly worked at Area 51, where he reportedly saw reverse engineered aircraft, humans videotaping interactions with aliens, and took part in human abductions. Yeah. So it's not like
abductions.
Yeah, it's not like Doty was just the guy that just said, "Oh, this is all a bunch of baloney." I'm gonna throw him a bunch of bull, and send him off looking in the wrong direction. He apparently had worked in the situation where he was privy to alien information.
That's wild.
So what he would have been throwing Benoit's off of was these reverse engineered aircraft that they were developing and testing at Kirtland Air Force Base.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
not the other stuff that is being claimed.
Right. Now, on a side note, Doty said that Bob Lazar, the man who reportedly worked on reverse engineering alien craft at Area 51, he said he has to be legitimate because no one else would be able to describe the layout as accurately as he did unless he was actually there. And he even talked about how the security clearances were color-coded, to access different areas. And he said no one would know that.
Yeah.
And no one would be able to make it up.
The more people that are willing to talk about Lazar, the more it seems like Lazar is not lying.
Well, I mean, if you look at watch interviews with Bob Lazar, I mean, he doesn't really ever waver.
No.
I mean, you would think it over time, especially this much time,
Yeah.
you would see some alterations
Cracks.
in his story. Maybe it would become more fantastical.
Yep.
But it really doesn't.
No. And he's not one that wants to be interviewed, so
right.
He tries to avoid the interviews as much as possible.
That's exactly right. The less I say, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some locals that have experienced some things around the Archuleta Mesa that's very unusual. Now, Jerry Julian, who is a Jicarilla elder, lives on the outskirts of Dulce. Her and her husband, Larry, have spent a lot of time in the area around the Archuleta Mesa while watching after their cattle. And it was while sitting outside looking after their cows that Jerry says she began to see things. It was in 1986 when Jerry had her first encounter when she and Larry were sitting on the tailgate of their truck. They saw a white egg-shaped object fly down from the top of Archuleta Mesa toward the road. Larry immediately told Jerry to get in the truck. Reluctantly, Jerry got in, but the truck wouldn't start.
Oh, great.
So while Larry was trying to get the engine started, Jerry saw two small people approaching them. And as they neared, the truck finally started and Larry started to speed away. But as Jerry looked back, she saw the two figures return to the egg-shaped craft and fly back to the top of Archuleta Mountain.
Oh, dang.
So, I mean, this is what she claims she saw, and her story hasn't changed. She says she saw the craft land, she saw a ladder come down, and these two figures come out and start coming toward them.
Dude, that would be cool, but it would be so scary, too.
Well, yeah, especially if, you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden this is happening. I mean, you got to think what in the world is going on?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting out of here would be the first thing.
Absolutely.
And in 1986, I mean, they're not talking about, UFOs and little alien men. Yeah. Those things are still kind of woo-woo.
Mm-hmm.
But later that night.
You're right. Now they might be a little more open to it.
Right.
But then, they didn't want, it wasn't talked about. It was, you were made fun of if you brought it up. So it wasn't a thing to, I'm going to say this to be cool because everybody else is talking about it.
Right. But it was later that night that Jerry reports that the beings actually came to her home.
Oh, no.
And she awoke in the night to the two trying to pull her out of bed by her legs. And Jerry said she was unable to scream.
Really?
Yep. Now, many of Jerry's neighbors also report seeing flying craft, lights, and even strange creatures. And there is a belief that within the underground base, genetic experiments are being performed that lead to these sightings. Now, Jerry, in an interview with KOAT News, reports having seen a man-goat hybrid. She says she saw it had goat's legs and a tail, but from the waist up, it looked like a man.
So how far away is this from Goatman's Bridge?
I don't know.
It's quite a ways, but
yeah.
But
other people have reported seeing Bigfoot. And they even go as far as to say Bigfoot is a creation of the underground base.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if they're doing genetic hybrids of stuff, you would think that would come out in genetics at some point if you crossed a human with a gorilla or something.
Right.
Eventually that layout of genes would happen. So I don't know.
It's really weird. And supposedly there was a videotape from one of the security cameras that contained evidence of these activities. It was stolen from the facility by a security guard who said he buried it in a nearby valley, but he's not been able to find it again.
Ugh.
I know. But hey, it gets better. Okay.
I'm good.
But let's talk about the base for a minute. Okay, what the base is supposedly, how it looks and how it operates. Okay. Now, as Adam said, there's no evidence that has ever been shown to prove the existence of the underground base, but it hasn't stopped people from speculating. It's said that the base is set up with a series of tunnels that reach all around the world to key locations, allowing for undetected travel.
Yeah, that takes a lot, man.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
The base is said to consist of 7 levels, with each level requiring its own rank of security clearance to access. The upper 3 levels are supposedly used for security, human staff housing, and executive offices and labs. The lower floors are used for mind control, alien housing, genetic experimentation, and cryogenics.
Okay.
Now,
Keep that stuff buried, literally.
Yeah. Now, on level 6, there is an area known as the Nightmare Hall.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Now, here, reportedly, are found humans, alien-human hybrids, and other results of genetic manipulation caged and or frozen in cryogenic chambers. But the most horrifying aspect of this base is that it is by design meant to allow the military to gain intelligence in return for giving the aliens, Greys and reptilians, members of the population to use in their experiments. And it's often speculated that many of the missing persons around the Dulce area could be imprisoned inside the mountain base.
See, and I have heard now for a couple years that a lot of these, quote, alien abductions are not alien doing the abducting. They're the U.S. military or some U.S. group abducting them and then making them think it's alien when they return them. But, you up until looking into Dulce, you hadn't heard of, well, this is where they're taken. You just hear they abduct them, run experiments, whatever. If there is an underground secretive like black site here, then that would be the spot to do it.
Right, exactly. And the idea that some of these missing people that have never been found are actually people that have been abducted and imprisoned inside the mountain. Now, there's a man named Thomas Costello who claimed to have worked at the base and in essence was the first whistleblower revealing the horrors that he encountered. Costello also claimed that his wife and children were taken from him in order to ensure his compliance with the program. He said he is not sure if his family was part of the Nightmare Hall or if they had just been killed. Now, Thomas Costello relays details of the underground base in a YouTube video. Now, as a former security officer at the Dulce Base, Costello discusses the origins and construction of the underground facility. He talks about electromagnetic controlled air or spacecraft leaving and arriving at the base and how the facility is surrounded on all sides by alien bases, with one part believed to be the size of Manhattan.
Wow.
That's huge.
That is.
Costello also discusses the reptilian beings on Earth, the building of underground extraterrestrial bases and subterranean highways in America, with the largest amounts of entrances found in New Mexico and Arizona. The video explores the possibility of high-level Freemasons and secret societies being involved with the aliens and the underground installations.
Why is it always going to go back to the Masons?
I know. It's always the Masons.
Like, they got their hands in so much, you don't think they would have time to do anything else.
That's right. They got to have, like, factions, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you're the alien faction of the Freemasons. Yep. You're the ones that know about Jack the Ripper. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're the...
Y'all are the ones that keep the Ark of the Covenant.
Right, yeah. But the video also discusses the unique shape of the elevators in the facility, the aliens' use of magnetics, and their desire for all the magnetic power on Earth.
That sounds like an evil villain out of a Bond movie.
Exactly.
I want all the magnetic power. Yes.
Magneto.
Yeah.
The dude walking around, he's got refrigerator magnets, you know. Welcome to Dulce, magnet right here on his forehead.
Exactly. You know? Back of his head, he's got the whole alphabet, so you can like move him around and spell stuff.
Yeah. Those little plastic letters that everybody had when they were kids. Yeah.
Yep.
People are coming up behind him, like, kick me, you know, on his back.
I'm a Dulce dork.
Now, Costello goes on to say that the small gray aliens work under the supervision of the reptilians, which he calls the Draco. Now, he says the Draco are uncaring creatures who have very little concern or compassion for humans. Costello goes on to describe the network of tunnels, which he said exist in every state, and that they were formed naturally, but are used by the Draco and have been used by the Draco for centuries. He also says that other subterranean civilizations have existed, and Costello says that early pioneers and settlers of Utah interacted with these groups.
Really?
Yeah. That they actually were aware of them and actually interacted with them. Now,
that would be interesting to go try to find writings of that.
I know. I don't want to dig into this. Okay. But if you are familiar with the, let's say, the extraterrestrial nature of the Mormon history.
Yep.
This makes sense.
Yep, that's true.
Okay?
That's true.
Now, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
Now, he explains that there are two distinct nations that occupy North America. The traditional grassroots America established by our founding fathers, and the fascist Bavarian lodged-backed underground nation led by the corporate government. Okay, essentially the shadow government.
Yeah.
He says the underground system beneath the Denver International Airport is believed to be the capital of the human segment of the secret government in America. Wow, we've heard that before.
Yep.
And Mount Archuleta is considered the capital of the alien segment of the secret Bavarian draconian New World Order government in America. So essentially the aliens run part of the government, and this secret shadow government runs part of it.
Yeah.
So, and they're not exactly allies. You know, they're not necessarily enemies, but they're not allies either. It's very, very strange. Now,
they work together, but they don't want to.
Kinda, yeah. If I tell you, if you've ever watched, Inside Job, you ever seen that, the cartoon?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there are 2 seasons of this cartoon called Inside Job on Netflix. Go check it out. It is absolutely hilarious. Okay, for one.
Okay.
But the whole idea is this. You know, that there is a shadow government. Now, the concept of the show is that there are companies, there are organizations that's their job is to help the shadow government pull these things off, you know, to cover up stuff and all this other, you know.
Yeah.
But the idea is there. Now, the video also explores the possibility that high-level Freemasons and other secret societies might be involved with the aliens and these underground installations. So it's not like they're just down there isolated from everything. You know, they have surface dwellers that are working with them. Now, in May of 1990, John Lear claimed to have garnered 4 independent confirmations that the 7-story structure was real. Lear was a former pilot and government man, as well as the son of the inventor of the Lear jet. So people gave some credibility to his claims.
Mm-hmm.
His detailed claims went so far as to describe the different species of aliens who allegedly visited Earth. And Lear's allegations served as a foundation for further claims about the New Mexico alien base. Now, Phil Schneider, who we've already talked about, he was the one that supposedly worked on the construction of the base. And Schneider, he really worked to bring Benowitz and Lear's claims out of the fringes with his public speeches and bizarre stories about this alleged base. Now, Schneider claimed to be a former government employee and explosives expert and said he was involved in the construction of the Dulce Base. Now, probably the most famous of these presentations was in 1995 when he alleged that during the project initial stages, that's when that military firefight occurred between the U.S. military and the aliens, and where he lost those fingers. Now, I think in that one, he says there were 66 members of the U.S. military that were killed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Schneider died on January 17th, 1996, in a death ruled a suicide, but the circumstances are questionable. Schneider himself said that he had survived, I think, 13 murder attempts.
Wow.
You know, so he claimed to be aware that they were after him. You know, they wanted to shut him up. So I don't, man, this is just, it seems so outlandish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when you see these stories from the locals in the Dulce area, when you listen to these people, you know, Lear and Benowitz, Schneider, Costello, it really makes you wonder, were all these people involved in the same hoax?
Right.
I mean, over the course of, we're talking about, you know, roughly 17 years here. From 79 to Schneider's death in 96. To what end?
Yeah.
I mean, what were they gaining from this? I mean, obviously they weren't getting rich, and God, you know, Lear was already loaded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't need the money.
Right. So, I mean, they gained the kind of fame that you don't necessarily want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Schneider especially. I mean, if he fully believed that people were after him and that he had managed to avert death multiple times, I mean, why continue?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You know, if you're involved in something like this and you want to get your message out, I can understand that just eating you up inside. But at some point you got to say, I don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, whether he committed suicide or not, I don't really, that's not the point. The point is, he said that he had been targeted several times. I mean,
yeah, multiple times.
It would really only take once for me.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
right.
I'll shut up.
Right. Yeah. I'm done now.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Don't kill me. I'll quit talking about it. But, it just, like Adam said at the beginning, if you're going to put that base somewhere, Dulce, New Mexico is as good as any other spot because it's, you're around the fewest number of humans as you could possibly get, unless you put it in our Antarctica, which that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. That's a whole nother episode.
But if you needed to put one in North America, this is a good spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. And maybe that's why the story focuses there, because it is a good spot. And
maybe.
And strange things are out there. And there's not as much of a human presence in that region. So maybe it does facilitate these kind of stories. And who knows? Maybe the local Air Force base, maybe they were working on something top secret. Maybe they didn't need people, looking into it or causing a story. I mean, Benowitz actually went to Kirtland Air Force Base and told them about what he was picking up.
Yeah. The other thing, Matt, is this is the Hickory Apache Reservation, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rules and laws are a little bit different on reservations.
Right.
And I recently watched a documentary. I can't remember now what it was, but the part I can remember is there was another guy on another reservation that apparently he went around to different, he was proven to be a government employee, but he would go to different countries and work with disparate groups and try to help them grow economy and stuff. Well, then he moved out to this one reservation and started working out there, trying to build stuff while they were out there. And somehow a lot of money was coming into this reservation from they don't know where.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So could that be something similar where let's put it on this reservation where there's not as many eyes on us. Some of the governmental regulations are different. Yep. So, could that explain also why it's where it is? And why it's claimed to be where it's claimed to be.
And the guy you're talking about and the documentary you're talking about, there is a component of there being a shadow government for that things are not what they seem, and that people have gotten way too close.
Yep.
And have paid the price for it.
Yeah.
Whether it's with their lives or, 25-year prison sentences.
Mm-hmm.
So it is curious. It is interesting to note that you cannot visit this area without a member of the Hickory Apache tribe.
Right.
I mean, you have to have someone with you. So this is not some place that you can just go, hey, let's go check this out ourselves.
Yeah.
Well,
let's go on a hike.
You've got to have a guide.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the videos that I watched, that's what they did. They had a guy, and he's telling the stories like, man, this is just the way it is. Yeah. I mean, well, not flippant, but he's just telling the stories like I've heard them so many times. This is what it is. This is not, there's this legend. No, he's saying, this is what happened to this person. Oh, and this person over here, they saw this. It's just I mean, as flat as like this is the way it is.
Yep. Just daily life.
It's fact.
Yeah.
And of course those folks on the reservation, I mean, they got no reason to lie. Right. I mean, really, when you see the news interviews with those people, they're just like, man, this is weird. Mm-hmm. And even the interviewer goes, do you think there's a base under the mountain? They're like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and again, it's not a matter of, well, it could be. No, they're just like, yeah. There's something there.
There sure is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think? I mean, this is, like I said, this sounds like a crazy story, but when you start looking at all the reports and all the people that claim to have firsthand knowledge of its existence, do you think there's an underground base in, Mount Archuleta? Let us know. And one of the best places to do that is in our Facebook group. It is a private group. You can share your thoughts and your personal experiences, and you don't have to worry about, someone you work with seeing it and going, hey, Tom's right. A little off. He's talking about this. No, everybody just wants to hear these great stories. No one's going to make fun of you, call you a loony. We're all interested in the same thing, and this is a good place to share it. You can check out our website, which is graveyardpodcast.com, and there you can listen to the show. You can find links to purchase Graveyard Tales merchandise, and you can become a patron. And we thank all of our contributors and donators. We appreciate it so much. I mean, Adam and I couldn't continue to do this at the level that we're doing it without you. So thank you for that. Man, I tell you what, it still just blows me away. I mean, I was telling Amanda about it the other night. She's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds so wild, but then again, I can see it being a thing.
Yep, absolutely. So until next time, we'll save you a seat in the graveyard.
See you soon.